Everyone living their life upside down.
Welcome to Flat Earth Potluck. I'm MC Toon, and this is a collection of videos where they are too short to feature in a full video, so I collect together a bunch of shorter Flat Earth things and discuss their ridiculousness. We start out with something from the channel Jubilee, where they actually got a flat earther, Shelly, in the room with several other people, and they asked her questions.
How do you feel about the pictures of the Earth from space?
If you look at those pictures, NASA will even admit that they're CGI. And even a gentleman from NASA said that some of the pictures that they get, from satellites are these composite images that they have to kind of paste together. And so it's hard for me to say with all certainty that those pictures are authentic.
Well, we're off to a bad start with a lie. She's talking about Robert Simmons, who used satellite photographs to assemble them together into one composite of the Earth and called it the blue marble from the early 2000s. Now, if he assembled it from satellite photographs, from satellites orbiting the Earth, it doesn't really help your position very well there, Shelley. Robert Simmons in that same interview also mentioned that the last time that people were far enough to physically take a picture of the Earth themselves from space was in 1972. In 1972, a photograph of the Earth was taken on film, wet developed in a darkroom, and is currently in a museum in Houston, Texas. There's about 15,000 photographs in this collection just from the Apollo missions. You can go visit them if you don't think they're real. Nobody at NASA says that they are composites or they're fake. Just lying flat earthers like Shelley say this.
How do you explain, the phases of the moon?
We believe that the moon is its own light. A lot of people think that the sun basically reflects onto the moon. But what we find is that the moonlight is a cooler light, and the sun is more of a hot light.
You'll notice that Shelley completely avoided answering the question, what causes the moon's phases? She said that the moon is self-illuminating. Why would a self-illuminating moon have phases? No answer was provided. But of course it's ridiculous. If you look at close-up pictures of the moon, you can see shadows on it. Self-illuminating things don't have shadows. But even more ridiculous, she claimed that moonlight is cold. Now this completely violates the first law of thermodynamics. Light cannot remove energy from something. It can only add. Light has positive energy. There's no such thing as light having negative energy. It'd have to move backwards in time or have negative wavelength or something like that. It is physically impossible. If it were possible, then people would have already obtained the Nobel Prize for its amazing discovery. But when you actually test it, you will find that it doesn't actually work. I used this magnifying glass behind me here, and I focused moonlight on during a full moon on the bulb of a thermometer, and it was 11 degrees Celsius. The thermometer that did not have the moonlight focused on it was 9 degrees Celsius, completely contradicting her claims. When you actually do a good science experiment where you have the moonlight blocking something far away from where you're measuring it and having it vertical so that everything above your work surface is equally exposed to the sky, you will find that moonlight, not only does it not cool things, it tends to warm things, but just a little.
So if the Earth is flat, how do you explain time zones?
So if it's a close sun, it would be kind of like a spotlight. The time zones work because that local light, just kind of like a flashlight, doesn't light up the whole circle. It only lights up a certain part of the circle.
And here we have the most glaring problem with flat Earth. If the Earth is flat and the sun is some number of miles above the flat Earth, there is never anything between any observer and the sun. You would always see the sun. There would be parts of the Earth that would have more light, parts of the Earth that would have less light, but you would always see the sun. It could never cross the horizon due to perspective. Flat earthers never actually show how to apply perspective. Shelley didn't show how to apply perspective. But even harder is explaining how in Perth, Australia, you could see the sun when it's closer to, when the sun is closer to the North Pole, where you cannot see the sun at the same time. If it's a spotlight, then the closer parts would always be able to see it better than the farther parts. But we don't see that. This completely contradicts the spotlight idea.
I'm curious what the explanation is for gravity and things like the Coriolis effect.
Well, gravity's still technically a theory.
Yes, that is a blatant lie. Gravity is not technically a theory. The law of gravitational attraction is a law. It's in the name. Flat earthers love to just dismiss the fact that it is a law by just saying it's a theory, but it's not. Not that it actually helps, because a theory within science is something that's been empirically confirmed many, many, many times and can make future predictions about things. So theories like the theory of electromagnetism, the thing that makes your phone or computer able to even play the video you're currently watching, is a theory, which is a very good thing. It's very powerful. Theories in science are very well confirmed. If just a theory were a way to dismiss something, then your phone would just stop working. It wouldn't work. Or how about music theory? Does music theory not exist? Is it? You see, it's not a hypothesis. It's not a guess. In science, a theory is something that's well established. And yes, gravity is well established. Many, many empirical measurements of mass-to-mass attraction have been done. Handwave dismissing them by saying it's just a theory shows how completely scientifically illiterate you are, Shelley.
We know that there's an up and a down. As far as Coriolis, I was in the military and I've shot weapons, and we were never once taught to account for Coriolis.
What kind of weapons, if you don't mind me asking? Like ICBMs?
Well, when I was in the military, we shot M16s, and the railgun is a question because it can shoot 100 miles, and it's a line-of-sight weapon. So 100 miles using the curvature of the Earth, it just doesn't make sense that they'd be able to hit the target.
Well, Shelley's on a roll here. She didn't really want to answer when he's like, well, what weapon did you fire? She said M16, a short-range gun. So not a sniper, but snipers do account for Coriolis. It's well documented, and even more so, artillery in the military does account for both Coriolis and the curvature of the Earth. Going back to the World War II, some of the large guns in World War II, I have them all documented on my website, mc2.net/Coriolis. Enjoy that. But then she goes on to talk about the railgun. The railgun never actually was deployed. It was tested, and she claimed that it was line of sight. It is not line of sight. That's a blatant lie again, Shelley. Why do you keep lying? But in the patent here, you can see that there's a parabolic arc to the path that the projectile takes, and even in their marketing materials they show that there's a projectile path. Nobody ever has shown how the railgun is line of sight, but flat earthers just keep on parroting it.
Okay.
That's it for Shelley on Jubilee. Now is to Gabby from TikTok.
So you mean to tell me that if NASA could send a camera out into space and look back at the Earth, which they've not been able to do yet, all the photos of the Earth are CGI, and they will admit that. So you mean to say that if a camera could go out into space and look at the Earth and zoom in on Australia, you would literally see people going about their daily life upside down on a globe? You'd see people walking around upside down, people swimming in the sea upside down, cars driving around upside down, everyone living their life upside down, and they're staying stuck to the bottom of this earth because of gravity, yet they can't feel themselves upside down, yet they can't feel themselves upside down, yet they can't feel themselves upside down.
No. No.
Oh, no. You needs to go back to school, okay?
Boom.